wonderful interview with Bruce.
Frank Dello Stritto, talking about movies.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
How are you doing? We haven't got much time left, right?
So I had Bruce Sudano on, and
Okay.
it was a long interview, but it was great. So we got 4 minutes.
4 minutes, okay. Tomorrow's movie is Shoulder Arms with Charlie Chaplain. It's obviously a black and white silent comedy, and it's in the public domain because any movie made before 1923 is public domain, so that's why it's there. And this came out in October 1918, about, I think, 3 weeks to the day before the war was over. So this is a war movie. Precious few World War I movies have been made, even while World War I was underway. You know, we're in my childhood, we were buried in World War II movies, and that was like 10, 15 years after World War II. But people never were much interested in making World War I movies. They thought they'd be too depressing. And Charlie Chaplin made this one during the war, and obviously it's a comedy, and it was a big success. And when I was watching this, I kept thinking of my mother's brother, who was a prisoner of war during World War II, and he loved Hogan's Heroes. And so returning veterans and people that, when the war was over, this became a tremendous hit for Charlie Chaplin, and that really mystified people. But by and large, World War I movies weren't that popular through the 1920s and never really have been popular.
Fascinating.
Chaplin directed this, wrote it, and produced it. He's pretty much on his own now. He has his own studio. He's quite a wealthy man. He's probably maybe the highest. He's still an employee this time of First National Studios, but he's probably one of the highest paid men in the country. And he's making movies longer. And this movie is only 44 minutes long, but it is longer by about 10, 15 minutes than anything he had done before. And he is slowly but surely working himself into feature films. Comedies through the 1910s and the teens were almost, were invariably shorts, 12, 15, 20 minutes long, and then they got extended to 20 going into the 30. But a lot of people, Max Sennett among them, couldn't imagine a feature-length comedy film. And this film doesn't quite get there. It's like two shorts put together. The second half of the movie has something you might call a plot, and the first half of the movie is a lot of gags about men in the trenches and enlisted men and all that. So he's working his way towards that, and he'll never make a movie this short again. The movie after this will be longer. I guess his first, what we would call a feature-length film, comes a couple of years later, and then he has one of his masterpieces, The Kid, 3 years after this, and that's a feature film, an hour and a half long or so. So the war is ending. Comedy is moving from short films into feature films, and Chaplin becomes the leader in that. There is another comedian who is moving into feature films about this time, and that's Fatty Arbuckle.
Wow.
I think, who is probably earning as much as Chaplin at this point, but of course he'll be ruined by that scandal. He gave a party and a woman died there, and he had to stand trial for murder, of which he was totally innocent. Though I meet many people today who know a lot about movies and still think he did it.
Whoa!
But if you read the books on it, he did not, and he was really ruined by that. And I'm off track a little bit, but that's actually as it is. So comedy is moving into feature length. Chaplin is on his own. He's making his own movies. Soon he will have his own movie company. I think a year after this movie is made, he sets up United Artists. United Artists started as a deal between Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, and D.W. Griffith. And because they were big enough that they didn't need the studios anymore, so they became their own bosses. So this is an important step in a very important career, because Charlie Chaplin is, one of the great stars, one of the great comedians, one of the great film artists, certainly of the first half of the 20th century, and many people think for all time.
Well, thank you, Frank Dello Stritto.
All right.
We'll talk to you next week, man.
Alfred Hitchcock's The Lodger. I can't wait.
All right. Bye. And that's our show for tonight. That's Visual Radio. Boy, I had that coughing fit in the middle of the interview, and I got dizzy. Very difficult to remain professional and be hacking away. I took my mic off, and then I forgot to put it back on. But you know what? We still got the story. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Great.
We're off, right?